away. I hope.
Okay, I think we're live now. So there was some mix-up going on, and we have been streaming the, or not streaming precisely, but we have been running this Living Seed demo. And as you can see, we're already an hour into the race, and a couple of our guys are almost done. Others are still working at it. Meads, if you're around, do you want to just quickly go over what the Living Seed is again?
Yes, hello everyone. Medis24 here. The Living Seed is a flag set that we play on Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. Every single week, our runners for this race select 2 flags on the randomizer to change. Those flags persist from week to week, so over the course of a season, which runs for 14 or 15 seeds, somewhere around there, the flags build up as the season goes by. And they continue to build and radically alter the way that we play the game. We are currently in week 3, so we are using the 3rd week flag set right now, and this particular seed is using 3 weeks worth of flag changes from the players who run it.
And I am your other host, Eric the Swift. It's a shame we didn't catch this until just a while ago. But if you haven't noticed on Taco Media site at least, I have been singing the praises. The unsung story of Celeste on a Raft. It's been prominent this seed, and that's been the real breadwinner. So if we could just get a round of applause for Celeste on a Raft, as well as our runners here, they've been doing a fantastic job with what they've been given, what they've found. There's been a lot of divergent paths between all 4 of our runners, and they've just been doing exceptional work. We are taking another stab at the Goddess fight for Drinks Glue. Goddess has been very uncooperative, to say the least. So we are getting some Quad 9 damages with the Ice Rods, I believe, is what he threw at her. And Umaro is just going after Goddess and taking on that love token. And then inevitably paying the price for it.
Now we can really see our other runners, Taco Mage and Nekli Kong, closing the gap on Drinks Glue while he's jammed up at this fight. Of course, they both still have a Goddess coming up that they'll have to deal with, but it's definitely altered the scope of this race.
Yeah, and it looks like Goddess has been a little bit of a speed bump, which I think is the only boss that's been really showing this persistent issue throughout the seed. And I mean, every other boss they've been tackling down, no problem at all. And it's just Goddess that is resisting. It looks like Nobody War is stacking up on side 2 for Kefka's Tower to get the remainder of his dragons, which I believe he needs 2 left. Drinks Glue finally taking down Goddess, and will be stepping on his switches in just a moment.
So as far as the parts that the audience missed because of that unfortunate streaming not streaming issue, we did see some interesting routing going on, and Glue sort of hit the grit really fast routing, which was finding Strago at the Welk check, then finding Yeti at the next tower, then Sabin at Yeti's cave, into a shadow at Imperial Camp, which are a relatively fast one. On the other hand, some of our other runners had to go find their characters in other places. Realm was at Mobles, Locke was behind Burning House, both of which can take a bit more time or be slightly more tedious checks depending on the situation. But in any case, we do see, unfortunately, Taco Mage did take a wipe on that poltergeist, and we got some Knuckly Kong. I'm not sure. I think this is just a. Is this just a random fight?
Yeah, because I don't think he has Moogle Charm equipped. Either he forgot to put it on, or he took it off to get just a few more grind fights before taking on his last dragon.
And we do see Glue here at now starting the final Kefka fight. This is the first tier. You break the long arm, you set fire to the head, and then you hit the short arm.
Or as I like to call it, long arm, open hand, short arm, closed fist. It's how I've gotten used to it as a kid. It's how I'll always remember it.
The other option is just get up to level 99 and just stop on everything.
And we see our Fenrir coming out on tier 1, which is not a bad play. I believe, I don't remember if I saw this, multi-summon is turned on for this?
Yes, multi-summon is on. That was Phantom, though. So will be invisible, which will dodge some of the physical attacks that are going to come out. That will get torn away if they get hit by magic during the next phase, but again, multi-summon's on. So once you, as long as they have mute to get rid of mute the magic caster, and then just deal with, I believe Tiger also uses magic spells, so just needs to freeze the Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger is one that gives you nasty ailments. And like you said, with tier 2, that middle person, which is the girl, looks like in the red dress, is susceptible to instant death. The person on the left-hand side, who looks like he just wants to show you something off the side of the screen, is able to be muted, which just leaves Tiger and blue guy, which I believe is Hit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we got Hit, and then we got Tools in the center. Tools is vulnerable to instant death. Tiger is vulnerable to ice, and you just need to mute the magic user and then survive 10 hits from Hit.
It
looks like another reset on Taco's side.
Yeah, that poltergeist is just not cooperating. Meanwhile, Nobody War finishing off his Doom fight, so he has 1 statue down, 2 to go.
So this looks like this will be Knuckly Kong's last dragon fight.
And one of the good things about this seed and the flag set, the way it was made, if you've noticed, is that we seem to be having a lot of rods. Well, the thing with that is that all items in the shops are virtually free. They're just giving everything away. But at the same time, you can't sell any of it for money, and every chest, I believe, is a monster in a box. I want to say before you get the item, or just straight a general monster in a box?
It's not exactly the same, because monster in a box refers to some very specific fights. These are just basically random encounters inside chests, is the best way to put it.
One interesting thing about the Living Seed is that the flags change from week to week, so players can replace old flags if they didn't like them. We had these free shops introduced in week 1. So far, no one has changed that. So it's seeming like all the players are enjoying those free shops.
I mean, it'd be pretty hard to turn down a free shop.
I think it's also that a lot of the players are just interested in seeing what they can add rather than necessarily what they can subtract. And usually they're bothered because I think did see there was some concern over how the scaling was. So some of the flag sets for this week were meant to counter previous some of the scaling changes made in week 2.
We see Taco Mage taking down his Poltergeist and Drinks Glue going on to Phase 3, which consists of Magic and Sleep. Or I'm sorry, Girl and Sleep. Girl you want to take care of right away, because she does have the capability of restoring HP to herself and Sleep. And then as far as Sleep goes, just you want to make sure you pay attention to how much damage you're doing, so you're not getting mediocre counters every time. And with this phase, you also want to make sure you have your Calmness Protection, which is either Fenrir or Golem, and I believe Drinks Glue has Fenrir. I don't think he found that Golem.
Looks like we have a reset on Nobody War's side.
No, and it looks like I was wrong about Taco Mage and Poltergeist. I thought it looked like to me he got through it when I looked. My apologies.
These statue bosses have been giving all of our runners a lot of difficulty, so we've seen the race tightening up as the players try to find ways to get past these enemies.
And it seems like it's only been the statue bosses too. I mean, every other boss that they've encountered, they've pretty much gone through with these. It's just these statues have just been proven an exponential speed bump for our runners here, which it feels bad, especially knowing you're struggling on a statue, and then you get to the back of your minds is, are they catching up to me, or have they already surpassed the statue I'm stuck on? And that is not a fun feeling to be having.
Another reset on Nobody War's side. I think he realized the party sent against Goddess was going to do more healing to her than damage.
And it is always good to take that reset, and it looks like he's warping out, more than likely to readjust his party. As we see Drinks Glue going on to the final phase of the Kefka fight. So all he has left to do is just go for an all-out offense and hope he sets off the Goner phase to continue doing non-stop offense.
Yeah, and one of the advantages of the free shops is that if you found a place that sells elemental shields, you can just do nothing but crack elemental shields and get through this fight.
And those elemental shields do come in handy, because I believe at the start of the seed it was Drinks Glue that picked up about 51 of them, so for rods and shields I think he's more than set. He has plenty of pearl rods to keep him through this fight.
Okay, Knuckle Kong is going to take on Poltergeist. And he's brought his entire party, so this is... once he's done, he'll probably warp out and then skip to and split his party.
I can see this being a viable option, especially, I mean, he wouldn't know this, but with the other runners having some difficulty with, Goddess and Poltergeist respectively. So taking your full party to the Poltergeist fight to make sure you have an easier time is understandable. However, the other issue is you are going to have to back out and redo the tower again, but I do believe he has skip, so I don't think he'd have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, Needs, do you know what his check count was for Knuckly?
Knuckly Kong has 22 checks right now.
Okay, so he does have skip.
And Drinks Glue finishes off Final Kefka at 119.15. Get your Jeezys in chat for Drinks Glue. Well done. Well done.
And we may be joined shortly by Glue, but well, until then, we do see, was it Takamages going up against Doom? Nobody were taking on that Kefka fight.
And it looks like Umaro's holding out with a hope and a dream. Knuckly Kong resetting on the Doom fight.
And I brought him here against as well. GG's, Glue.
GG's, my friend.
So do you want the bad news?
I'm starting to figure it out after I'm looking through.
So the bad news was that there was an OBS problem with SpeedGaming, and so we missed like the first hour of the restream.
Yeah, but the good news is that you won.
Well, that's unfortunate, but I'll take any win you can get these days.
So how did you feel about that particular flag set?
When I was going through the flags, it became pretty apparent that it was find rods and go on about your business because all the good spells were gone. The tiered equipment pool meant that people weren't going to be able to wear the good stuff you find. So in vanilla shops, that means in 10% random shop, that means all 4 elemental rods probably exist somewhere. You just got to find them, and they're spread out throughout the world, so if you search enough, eventually you'll find them that will get you going, and rods will go much faster than Bolt 2, Fire 2, or the Pitiful Wars we started with, and then Dance, so rods was obviously the goal.
And I thought you found some elemental shields too.
No, I didn't find them for sale. I found them as a reward from somewhere. I think one was a dragon reward, one was from Nars Weapon Shop, but...
And what was your plan for dealing with the scaling?
Because the multiplier gets so strong that my plan was just to scoot by with the super balls and the rods as far as I could, and then go do checks with fixed encounters. Because as you saw in the Phantom Train, that's a world of balance encounter you encounter outside of South Figaro in the beginning of the game. That was giving me 9,000 experience, so that paid off for me. It was just push anything up as high as I could and continue on, and then take some fixed encounters, and it would just catch itself up.
Okay, and it looks like you were having some trouble with some of the statues. It seems like a lot of the other runners are also having trouble with statues. Was there anything in particular that just was hurting you as far as statues go?
I had a game plan for each one. I just needed Goddess to not counter one time. And then, but I just kept messing up my shield and getting the other ice shield off of the other character, and then bungling it so I'd go into the encounter, and then I get some good RNG in one of them, and then some bad RNG in the other one. And when I got good RNG, I wasn't ready for it because it was going to be one fire rod and 2 ice shields wasn't going to be through it. I just had to heal up enough, and then hope I don't get countered one time, and then get 2 turns in a row some way somehow.
And if you were actually in the Living Seed, and for week 4, what flags would you want to change?
I think I would have made something for the Coliseum. I don't know what, if it'll be a stat boost or the sprint shoes, but something for the Coliseum, because I really like the Coliseum with free shops. Nobody saw me because we weren't live, but at the beginning of the seed, I bought 11 of everything I saw for the first 4 or 5 shops when I was shopping, and that's just to load up on the Coliseum for later on to see if you come across something good. So I actually probably would have added something to the Coliseum and made all the Coliseum rewards visible.
Yeah, and I think there was Ragnarok swords and offerings at the Coliseum, possibly.
Coliseum always has the goods.
And was there anything else about this seed, or about the flag set, that you enjoyed or didn't enjoy?
I just enjoyed that it's different. That's what I like about the Living Seed, is that from week to week it kind of stays the same, but there's some intricate changes, and then if you come back 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, it's entirely something different, and sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, but it's always a little different, and that's what I like about it.
Is there any other advice you'd want to give anyone running this flag set?
So if you were to run this exact flag set, not to toot my own horn, but I think that's the exact move. Is one, just keep going till you find rods. I found pearl rods and fire rods in the 6 shops at the beginning, and then happy chance I ran into the Super Bowl because I was going to go do either Elite River or Opera House just to get off level 3, and then work my way through some bosses, and then out of those two, you just pick Opera or Elite River because you get a chance at the item shop. And I still needed sleeping bags, and then luckily Super Balls were there instead of sleeping bags, so I'll take that every time. But you just find some way to get to consumables, and then you just push the scaling up, and then do your fixed encounters later. You don't want to do your fixed. You don't want to just keep stopping and doing fixed encounters over and over again. You kind of want to do them as much as you can, or do them while you're working your way through a check, such as Elite River or Phantom Train or Opera House or Imperial Camp or whatnot. So that way you're not just walking around the field, not progressing towards anything.
Yeah, with the level scaling, which is based on party highest times 1.5, you do hit max scaling at level 26 for your party members. So were you trying to get to 26 and then beyond, or were you just going to were you trying to stay under that?
With the amount of dragons you have to do, and then their HP is characters, espers, and dragons. So the amount of dragons and everything you have to get, their HP's gonna get there anyways. So you can't really you can try to teleport for a while for the mid game, but you're gonna be fighting max level statues. So some way somehow you just gotta figure out a way to deal with it. And luckily, I found elemental diversity in the rods because fire rods aren't gonna work on poltergeist, but the pearl rods did.
And Eric, did you have any questions for Glue?
I think you pretty much asked all the good ones, but I think one
sorry.
that I can. No, you're good. One that I can think of is if there was anything you feel you could have changed route-wise, what would it be and why?
I wanted to do Ancient Castle because when you have to do 5 dragons, you might as well do the with Y removed. You might as well do the checks that are going to lead you to those dragons. So that's why I went to Fanatics. With Strago, you might as well go get your 5th character or your 4th character and a dragon while you're there. And then there's only 3 spots you can really do that. It's Ancient Castle, Mount Zozo, Fanatics Tower, and 4 spots: Fanatics Tower and Walter Road and Arsh. And so if you hit all of those, you're not just doing the Kefka Towers Dragon where you're walking through just to walk through. You're walking through and working towards progression. So if I could change one thing, I would have worked Age of Castles Dragons into there some way somehow.
Well, another piece of good news is that even though we did have some sort of runner divergency where everyone took different paths, we didn't see an Edgar anywhere. We do know that Locke was at Burning House, and we also found out that Realm was hiding off over in Moblas, so even trying to go for that Edgar, I don't think there was, anything to worry about too much on that aspect.
Well, with Y removed, if you go to if you try to go to the South Figaro Cave in the World of Ruin without Edgar, there's an NPC or Siegfried I think it's Siegfried or NPC is blocking you. So you can just Y remove them, then you go down there, and then you can do Ancient Castle. You can do the South Figaro Engine Room. You just don't do the Throne Room. You can't do the Throne Room without Edgar. But you can basically do 2 out of 3 of Edgar's checks plus a dragon.
Huh? See, that I didn't know about. That does
So the main spots you can Y remove into are South Figaro, World of Ruin, Mount Zozo, Locke's World of Ruin Weapon Shop. And you can get into the Collapsing House, but you don't really want to go into the Collapsing House unless you're looking for monster boxes. And then Magic Tech Factory, you can go into a Magic Tech Factory.
And then you can Y remove certain bosses. Like I think the one that I usually Y remove is the Dada Luma Sprite in Zozo, just so I can treat Zozo as a free check instead of a fighting check.
Yeah, there's some bosses, if you wipe remove, you don't get the progression. Like in the Magic Factory, you can wipe remove number 24. But if you wipe remove, you don't get the stuff for him. But if you go to Mount Zozo and do the Dataluma, you wipe remove him, and you go through him. And as long as you have Terra in your party and you go back to the Rambu room where the Espers converge, you'll be able to get the reward without having to do the boss fight.
And I think you can wipe remove the Narapa and still get the final thing, because I think the final check for floating comet is for when you get back to the airship.
Yes, indeed.
So there's a couple bosses. Wipe remove opens up a lot of options if you don't necessarily have either the ability, the characters, or the willpower to do certain things.
Oh, that is
thanks for raising Lou. I wish people could have seen more of it. I think you did a really great job going through this, and your time really shows that. And I think you've given some really great advice. And thanks again to NGGs, and congrats on the win.
All right, thank you, my dogs. Y'all have a good night.
Have a good one, man.
Okay, and so we do see Knuckly Kong and Nobody War both in the final Kefka fight. Looks like they're very close, or right on each other's heels, and Takamage finally gets through that goddess fight.
And I believe that should be Taco Mage's last statue, so he also will be going after this final Kefka fight.
I do think we have a pretty close race for second. It's going to depend on how this Tier 3 goes for Knuckly, and of course how the Tier 4 goes as well. Unfortunately, one of Knuckly's characters is already down.
And not only that, but to add insult to injury, did not get that Mega Elixir healing, so that's going to be well, he's got another one, so...
Yeah, if you found a shop with Mega Elixirs, you got a stack of Mega Elixirs. That's all you need to know about this flight set.
It looks like he does have 26 spares, so nothing too much to worry about. And
Yeah.
I believe...
In Ultra Sleek 6, I think the Mega Elixir costs about 44,000 gold. In this particular flight set, it costs 0 gold.
Be drinking Mega Elixir for days.
It looks like Taco is actually might not have has to go through the tower again. Might still have another statue to do, and just had to realign the party again. Unfortunately.
So I think the only statue he would have left, I want to say, would be Poltergeist at this point.
Yeah, we definitely saw Goddess go down, and I think we saw him fight Doom already. We do see Knuckly Kong going on to Tier 4 just as Nobody War is heading up to Tier 3. So the opportunities for Nobody War to catch up to Knuckly are diminishing, but a bad wipe on Tier 4 could give Nobody War a chance to get second.
All it takes is one bad slip from Kefka for Nobody War to take the advantage and get to final Kefka.
But if Knuckly has like elemental rods and shields, he could also just start throwing those out. And yeah, there's shield. Yeah, it's shield spam time.
I really like how Knuckly Kong's played this particular race. He was struggling in the beginning. He had 2 characters for the longest time, and he's come from behind to take second place, it appears.
Yeah, if he gets through this, and there's a good chance he's weight tricking on the item menu, which is exactly what you want to do, and already done. GG.
Yeah, that is Kefka down for Knuckly Kong as well.
Yeah, that's
Get
power
your GGs. Yeah, those shields, man, they are high tier.
Yeah, Kefka doesn't have any elemental strengths, so any of the 3 elemental shields you can just crack, do high value damage. And it really is one of the few sources of a high tier damage spell in this, because again, we've disabled the making the tier 3 spells in Ultima and Merton learnable.
Yeah, it looks like Nobody Warrior is going on to his final phase as well without Realm, so we're going to see who's going to be replacing Realm.
And Knuckly has joined us before I could bring him in here against as well. GG's, congrats on second, Knuckly.
Thank you. This was a very interesting seed. The no boss experience really threw me for a loop, and that's why I decided to take the Moogle charm off in the tower to get the last little bit of levels that I felt I needed.
Yeah, and it looked like for a while you were somewhat behind because I think you were stuck on 2 or 3 characters longer than anyone else, but you managed to catch up and then pull ahead during the statue fights.
I spent more time shopping than I would have liked, but I was looking for big swords, even after finding the elemental shields and the rods, because I knew for lady or girl, she absorbs all the elements. So I was looking for some sort of offense other than depending on RNG with fixed dice and super balls.
And what was sorry, go on, Eric.
I was gonna say that the way you slingshotted your way from being somewhat behind to finishing a second is just absolutely impressive. Like I enjoyed watching every second of it, to be honest with you.
And I was really, really hoping there wasn't a character at Fanatic's Tower, because that is by far my least favorite check. But when I saw Yeti, I knew Sabin was behind Yeti's check, and about 75% of the time I get an Esper from Tritok. So when I saw that I needed 1 character, 1 Esper, and I think 3 dragons, I went for it.
Okay, so I think we should also mention the bad news, but affects you slightly less maybe. For the first hour, we weren't actually live on SpeedGaming due to an OBS error, so we only really catch the last third of your match.
Interesting.
But you could also argue that was the third of the match where you did really well.
It was. I was hoping to get a better time, and when I saw Drinks Glue finish at 119 and I still had 2 statues and the whole final Kefka fight, I was hoping it would be closer. But Drinks Glue is a phenomenal runner, and I enjoy racing him any chance I get.
We're also joined by Nobody War, who came in a close third. I think you guys were like 1 tier in Final Kefka separated from each other.
Very good. GG's Nobody War.
I might be having some mic issues, but in the meantime, what was your strategy like when you saw the flag set? Like, what was your plan? Just go buy big stuff?
Yeah, I was hoping for high tier weapons in the weapon shops, and honestly, I was hoping for flame shields, because Fire 3 is a super fast animation, and unfortunately I did not find any flame materials. I didn't really look at the flag set too much. I saw the feed where it was, or the blame chart, and I saw free shops and monster in a box for every chest, so I knew right then I was doing shopping instead of looting, and I was just hoping for endgame weapons and armor, and I just found a lot of good breakables.
So if there was anything, knowing what you know now with how your seed went, was there anything that you would change route-wise that you feel you would do just a little bit better? Like, say, taking that Fanatic's Tower earlier than what you did. Like, is there anything you would change about the way you ran the seed?
Like you said, probably take Fanatics earlier. But that being said, I feel like my levels still would have been not where I wanted them for the final fight, because max scaling was, what, 40?
Yeah.
So going into the final fight at level 27, I was not fond of that idea. That's kind of why I dipped to Imperial Camp because it's fixed encounters with no boss, so I was just trying to grind XP, and the first fight was awful, and I wasn't going to do it again.
And we are also joined by Taco Mage, who I believe forfeit. Good game nonetheless. So I'm hoping everyone can hear, because I don't think nobody where Taco has heard this. Due to an OBS problem, we were the first hour of the stream didn't actually get streamed. So we only really saw the last 40 minutes or so.
Oof, that was the kind of the roughest 40 minutes to watch for at least my part of it.
Yeah. So what was your plan going into this flag set?
Like the first part of it almost went to plan, except that I hit a really bad chest and then took a wipe that I think was like 5-minute time loss. But my basic approach was, and I forgot to do one of them, which I had to go back for, but to hit the couple of free checks that I could hit. So check Zen, grab Celis's check, which taking both of those would push up XP scaling. And then after grabbing Celis, I was actually going to go over to the sealed gate and open a bunch of chests on the way through. But because of my reroute, because I forgot to pick up Celis and South Figaro when I was first there, I decided to open up chests in the basement. That's where I hit Madam Outsiders and wiped after about 4 minutes of grinding. And then from there, it was just basically seed as normal, gather up as much junk as possible, hit the Coliseum.
Now, I'm personally wondering, did any of you consider going to Zozo and why removing Dataluma?
I didn't. Zozo's feels like such a long walk, and the only other check there is guaranteed to be dead, and it was about 30 minutes in when I realized, oh, that's right, we are on tiered equipment, which means nobody's going to be able to wield anything that's any good.
So I've asked this with the other runner, so I'll ask you as well. If there is one thing, or is there anything in particular, rather, that you feel you could have done differently, routing-wise, to kind of give yourself a little bit more of that edge to kind of, take down everything, especially the statue fights, which I do believe everyone was also struggling with as well for a time being.
Well, there were two things that I could have done differently. One, I could have given up on Poltergeist a lot sooner. I sunk Cost Fallacy that one. I think that doing retries on that one was 10 minutes before I finally gave up when I realized I was at 21 checks. The big one, I probably could have stopped and ground up to like level 36 before going into KT. That was kind of a gamble. I thought I'd be able to RNG my way past. And of course, it wasn't until like my 6th or 7th rip against Goddess where I realized, wait a minute, I could try moving the fixed dice around. And that's something I wish I would have thought of a little bit earlier, too.
So my question for everyone who wants to comment in on this, if you're going to be in week 4, what flags are going to change? Like, what 2 flags do you want to add or remove or modify?
That's a good one.
Probably Boss XP off. I, in general, hate that flag, so that one's probably going away if somebody else doesn't nuke it first.
I am also not a fan of that flag. But going back to what you said about the Y remove at Zozo for Dataluma, I completely forgot that I could do that. And I ended up taking the fight, and I think it was just Kefka. So it wasn't a terribly difficult fight. And then I did Y remove into Mount Zozo for the dragon.
Yeah, I was bringing that up because it feels like the Zozo check, when you have Y remove, is sort of like a partially free check it's a non-free check that's basically free because the only fight you have to take you can actually Y remove. And so I was wondering, it would still potentially have progression, right?
Yes, it was. It was an Esper. So Y removing the boss there, you do still get the reward, and since you have to fight a boss there, it's not part of the no free lunch flag set. So you do still get the reward there, just like if we did Floating Continent and we removed the last boss.
Yeah, the Narappa spot.
You still get the reward from that. Now, if you remove the center spot of Floating Continent, you do not get the reward.
And something that I had wondered earlier in this seed, it was in the first hour, so nobody got to really hear it. But there was this reward for learning one sword tech. So my question was, if you already have the other 7 sword techs and you get that reward as an unlock, do you get that 8th and final one, or do you still stay at 7?
I'm pretty sure it gives you the 8th one. If I remember the way the flag logic works, I believe learn 1x of anything just gives you the next in a progression, so same with blitzes.
I did get that.
Yeah, I picked that up. I did get it too with Sabin.
But I honestly didn't really struggle with the statues. I pulled Warring Triads strategies and sent my strong party up the right side and took out Guardian or Inferno spot and a dragon, which got me unlock, and then I just sent them straight up through the center and split the party between the other 2 statues. Goddess, I took her out with ice shields, and Doom, I just chucked pearl rods at him.
Ooh, I never found the ice shields. Where were those?
I do not remember, but I found ice shields, thunder shields, thunder rod, pretty much everything but fire rods and flame shields.
I know there was one ice shield you could have gotten from the lock check at the weapon shop, and I want to say, I think I saw an ice shield in the shop, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I bought 61 ice shields and 61 thunder shields. So majority of my seed was Kraken shields.
Yeah, we saw you do the shield spam on Final Kefka, and just like, I don't think he even got a chance to do Fallen one.
He did not, and he didn't go into Goner charge. I ate a hyperdrive, but didn't lose a character to it. So it was interesting. I do like free shops, but what I would pair with it is probably no toys. So it would remove the rods and shields, but that's also a gamble with tiered gear.
Yeah, the other problem is that we also don't have any of the higher tier spells learnable either. So those elemental shields are like your only tier 3 sources, I think.
Yep. Yep, and not everyone being able to equip all the espers is different. I think my first esper, no one could equip it until I found Locke.
I think, yeah, you must have got the same one I did. That was Fenrir. Nobody could put on Fenrir.
Yep. Yep, but then I found Locke, or I got Strago, and then Locke, and I did Locke's tunnel armor check, hoping for another character so I wouldn't have to go to Fanatic's Tower. Didn't pan out, but Fanatic's Tower, seeing Yeti there really slingshotted my routing.
Yeah, and I think nobody found Realm at Mobliz, which was the other possible divergence.
Yeah, I got Realm as well as my last character.
Did anyone go to Phoenix Cave?
I didn't even get Locke.
I didn't see anybody even go to the direction of Phoenix Cave.
Yeah, I think you were the only one who found Locke, because I think you may have been the only one who did. Or actually, Nobody War might have done Burning House as well.
Yeah,
I think you were the first person to check that.
And I was hoping for better grind fights in Burning House, and that's kind of how I went about my seed, knowing that boss XP was off. I wanted to take checks with grind fights to get my levels up so that I didn't have to take grind fights while walking around, and it didn't pan out very well. The first fight in Magitech 3 was a good XP fight, but the fights after that weren't spectacular. But I think I was low to mid 30s when I went into Kafka's Tower and finished at levels 40 and 41.
All right. We're going to probably cut this stream soon, so any final thoughts?
This was my first time doing the Living Seed, and I enjoyed it. If I can manage to get more time in my schedule, I will most likely continue it.
Yep, it is an async. Taco here is actually the person who runs it. And so just come into our Discord and ask around, and you'll get directed if you want to give it a try yourself. I wish we could have shown off more of it, but again, there was those technical issues that we didn't catch until far too late. I'll take steps myself to make sure that doesn't happen on my end, at least. But we at least got to showcase some of the end and got to talk about some of the stuff so they can still have an idea of just how different Living Seed is from your standard race flags.
Yep, and like Joker said, join the Discord. It's an amazing community. We do have a Moogle Cup for new runners to be mentored by experienced runners to get them ready for Ultros League. Ultros League, we are in week 3, so I believe late signups have closed. Unfortunately, if you want to join, you'll have to wait until season 7. But there's always something going on in the community, whether it's a sync race, a draft race, just a whole bunch of fun.
Yeah. So Meads, Erickson, or Taco, any final thoughts?
Nope. Come join us, Living Seed. I'm just happy I could, fail it on air for everybody.
Thanks so much for. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, despite the technical difficulties that we had within the first hour, I mean, this was a really fun seed to watch. And someone who's more so new to the community myself, seeing a lot of the strats and everything, just, I'm learning more about how to do randomizer seeds, so I'm not doing the whole, oops, all characters, and, everyone's level 50. So learning a lot, I think, watching the races. And again, participating in the Moogle Cup, which I am doing myself, is a good way to learn how to do these in a much faster competition, to say the least.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, worlds collide. Whether you're racing it, whether you're participating in the community, whether you're volunteering to help us with these restreams, I think for Eric and I, this is our first night doing our respective roles on the stream tonight. You can just come in and you can contribute. So if it looks like fun, it is fun, and we're always welcome to bring people in and get you going, whether you're racing or doing something else or just hanging out and having fun and playing the seeds at your own pace.
Okay, and with that, we are going to go ahead and say goodbye. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I wish we could have shown off more, but hopefully you got to see some, especially the close race for second between Knuckly and Nobody War. I thought that was a pretty great thing to see. But yeah, the Living Seed is pretty great. That's why we wanted to show it off and see if we get other people interested in it. And all you have to do is come to join the Discord, ask around, and we'll point you in the right direction. But for everyone here, thanks again to all our runners for running this. Thanks for SpeedGaming for letting us have this time, and thanks to Eric and Meads for trying something new for us. But in any case, for Worlds Collide, I'm Joker Mage, and thanks and goodbye.